Hey everybody, it's Lucy Cesena, and we are here with Amy NewMark. And Amy actually today released her book, Simply Happy. Amy NewMark is the editor-in-chief and publisher for Chicken Soup for the Soul. As many of you know, there's been hundreds of different types of books out there for chicken soup. And Amy, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I mean, I just had a baby, right? It was like 9 months of labor, and here it is, my little baby.
Now, I know that this is your first book where you're actually the only writer on it. And you've done a lot of books. I mean, there's been many different titles, but you've always had a lot of co-authors. Tell us, what is it that made you finally decide to go out and do this on your own, and what inspired you to do it?
I did it because people were telling me, you have absorbed so much information from reading tens of thousands of Chicken Soup for the Soul stories. Plus, I have a rather eclectic life of my own, and I was always giving people lots of advice and saying, oh, I read 10 stories about what you're going through. Let me tell you what those people did. And so they said, you really should put all of this together into one book. And I actually was supposed to put it out a year ago.
Wow.
But since I'm also the publisher, as well as the author, the publisher me gave the author me an extra year to write the book because I just couldn't get it done. But
How convenient.
I finally did it. And you know what was hard was finding my voice. And I found my voice by doing a podcast. I've been doing a podcast since February. We've had 700,000 downloads.
Nice.
And I realized, okay, that's how I want to talk to people. That's how I want to share information. So I took what I learned from doing the podcast, and I finally sat down and wrote this book.
Well, that's amazing. In what you were saying as far as all the stories that you've read, and I know, I mean, you came into Chicken Soup for the Soul back in 2008. You and your husband, you guys purchased it, correct?
Yes.
So at that moment, and I know you went to Harvard and you studied poetry in Brazil, and you've done so much, but what is it that you think inspires people with stories, as far as, if I'm reading a story, how is that going to change somebody? What do you think? Like, how does that work?
If you think about it, when something happens to you, something good, you're getting married, or a guy is about to propose, or something bad happens, you lose somebody you're close to, or you're diagnosed with a critical illness, you always turn to somebody who has gone through the same experience, good or bad. You always want to hear other people's stories. And if you think about how we've passed down wisdom and culture and advice for thousands of years, storytelling, sitting around the campfire 2,000 years ago, telling the stories, and it's how people best absorb information. It's how we like to receive information. And so when Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen started Chicken Soup for the Soul 23 years ago, they hit upon this formula of having just ordinary people share stories about perhaps extraordinary things that happen to them. And it really works, and that's why we are still doing it today, and we have more than 250 titles in print.
Nice.
And I've done 134 of them myself in the last 8.5 years, but it's because it works. It always works. Stories are the best way for us to share information with each other.
Right. No, I totally agree with that. And being that you've only been doing this for 8.5 years, and how many, 100 and...
I think it's 134 when I counted it recently.
Okay, so 134 books, meaning you're putting one out at, I think I saw somewhere it's one book a month?
It used to be faster than that. And then we said, no, we're going to do 10 to 12 a year now. Yeah.
Okay, so who is giving you all these stories, and who's reading these stories when they come in and deciding that one's going to go, that one's not going to go? And if that is you, how do you not get so emotionally caught up in every single one of them?
So here's how it works. We were probably one of the first companies to do that buzzword crowdsourcing.
Okay.
Because we've been crowdsourcing our books for more than 20 years. So when we are starting on a new topic, we put it out on the internet. We send emails to 6,000 of our past writers. It goes viral. It goes onto writers' blogs, writers' websites. You know, a mother calls her daughter and says, you got to write for this book. So tens of thousands of people know we're working on a book. We'll get 5,000 submissions for a book where we can only print 101 stories.
Wow.
So the next thing we do, the next buzzword after crowdsourcing, is curating. Right? And so we curate like crazy. I have a whole team of editors. We talk about what we're trying to do with this book. We talk about what stories are coming in. And we read the thousands of submissions. Everybody has a chance to get in. And we narrow it down to the 101 finalists, and then I will sit down and edit them, shape the chapters, make this book that that I've been dreaming about. So that's how we do it, and we're doing that every single month.
That's just amazing to me. But in this book specifically, you share a lot of your own life stories and some of your own experiences. And one that touched me was the voices in the head. The negative voices.
Yes.
Being a single mother, I know it's hard for a lot of, there's a lot of us out there that are single moms, and sometimes we don't think we're enough. And I thought that was such a profound story that you shared. And I just want to know for yourself, like, how is it that you continue? Because I'm sure they still come at points. So how do you battle that? How do you get yourself out of the negative thinking and building yourself up to be more positive?
I think it's something that you partly learn with age. I was complaining to somebody and saying, I'm going on all these TV shows and everybody's 20 years younger than me. And then she said, yeah, but that's why they want to hear from you, because you're older and you've already been there, done that, so own it. Okay, so I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
And yes, I was very insecure as a young mother because these two little kids were looking at me and thinking that I knew what I was doing, and I knew that I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And you just have to basically fake it and act like you know what you're doing. And it turns out you actually do. And women in particular tend to be insecure. And men tend to be more willing to believe they can do something even if they can't, right?
That's so
right?
true. Yeah.
But women, so I think if I were talking to my 20 and 30-something self, I would just say, hey, look at what you're already doing. You're fabulous. And just keep that in mind. And every time somebody asks you to do something where you're not quite sure you can do it, remember, they wouldn't have asked you to do it if they didn't think you could do it. So just say yes and figure it out later.
Now, with just saying yes, because I've always heard, even being in business, you never say no. You always figure it out. You can do it. But with that, there's a lot of, you're taking chance on, can I get it done? Am I going to be able to pull this through? So when you're saying yes, what's the next steps of making sure you can complete the project and get it done?
I really believe in using time efficiently, and that's one of the things I talk about a lot in this book, is that it is amazing how much you can do even in 60 seconds. Right? All those little things you've been putting off.
Right.
If you put your iPhone on 60 seconds and you go into your house and you do something that you've been meaning to do, that you've been putting off, you will actually get it done in 60 seconds. I just believe in using every bit of your time efficiently, and it will just happen. Oh my gosh, when we started at Chicken Soup for the Soul, I actually had to edit 28 books in the first 6 months because we decided to kind of jumpstart everything, and so we put out 28 books in our first 6 months of operation.
That is crazy.
I was sending 3 books a week to the printer at one point. And I just did it, and it happened, and they sold really, really well, and we relaunched the brand. Now, I have to say that when it came time to do my taxes several months later, I realized that I hadn't actually opened my mail for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I got it done.
That's a whole lot of time that you used wisely, though. Yeah. With that, you coming into this, you came from Wall Street. You're a financial analyst, But it's such a different realm of work. Wall Street, financing, and then to being something so inspirational. And in a way, there is a spiritual undertone in these books. I heard you say once that religion is not something that you really consider Chicken Soup for the Soul, but it's more of a spiritual thing. And can you touch on that for us as far as how the difference in the completely different careers, how were you able to make the transition, and how go from one specific financing Wall Street into something so deep and meaningful and touching so many different people?
I think it was a change I always needed to make. I was on Wall Street and in finance for 3 decades. But I was always a little bit of an oddball when I was on Wall Street. For example, if I was analyzing a stock to see if people should buy it, and I realized, oh no, they shouldn't buy it, they should sell it. This is bad. This company has a bad story. People are going to lose money. I would want to tell that negative story also and make sure that I warned people. And I would get in trouble for that.
Isn't that what was her name? She went to prison for that. What was her name? Yeah, Martha Stewart.
Oh,
Was it that type of thing?
No, because this isn't insider trading. This is just
I see.
saying, okay, I am an analyst and I'm looking at a stock, and I did this when AT&T came out in 1984 or something, and I said, I don't think people should buy this stock right now. And the whole AT&T management team turned on me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was almost banned from their meetings and banned from their conference calls, because I had the nerve to say that something should be sold, not bought. And so over the years, I would get in trouble for being bold and speaking up, which I have a chapter about that in there. But it's the right thing to do. So I was always trying to do the right thing, and that sometimes put me at odds with other people. And I think that on Wall Street, the real emotions you're dealing with are fear and greed. And I think I was looking for something even bigger than that. And so when Chicken Soup for the Soul came along, when we were deciding if we were going to buy the company, I sat down and I read 100 of the old books.
Wow.
And I was so impressed. And I said, you know what? I feel like there's a publisher of Chicken Soup for the Soul waiting to come out of me. And so
That's awesome.
it was just, I was seeking something bigger, more spiritual, more meaningful, as you were saying. And this was the perfect way for me to do that.
One of the other things that that you talked about in this book, I would love to have been a part of it, but it's not a we, but that you talked about is, and something that really hit me, and even on the way over here as I was coming to you, it really dawned on me that I don't smile enough, and how hard it is to smile at somebody that you don't know, or just to walk into a room because you always feel like, oh, am I being weird? What is it in a smile that can do for people, and how can we do it every day to where we're comfortable doing it?
So I always say a smile is like a boomerang. You know, you throw it out there and it comes right back at you. And smiles are incredibly powerful. They're free, they're easy. You can make the decision in one instant to start smiling at people, and I guarantee you your whole day will be brighter.
Yeah.
When you smile at people, you show them that there is a real person inside here. And you make a connection when you smile, and you can even turn a grumpy person into a smiling person, and then they will treat you differently.
Yeah. No, I think that's beautiful. And thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Everybody, Simply Happy by Amy NewMark is out. Go get it. It's an amazing book and just uplifts your spirits and can help you with those everyday things that you may be struggling with. Thank you, Amy.
Sure. And one more thing. we do have hashtag Simply Happy Project. It's starting right now, and it's going to run for a month. We're going to have a different tip every day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Well, thank you for that. So check it out, guys.